Hello friends, if this joke tickled your funny bone, don't forget to hit subscribe. It's an easy way to keep the humour flowing into your feed. Don't miss the last one, that is special joke for you. If you're still here, I'm thrilled you enjoyed the joke. Subscribing is a simple way to stay connected. Join our community and make me a happy friend. A girl was sitting on a bus wearing a shirt with a car printed on it. Nearby, a little boy was staring at her shirt with curiosity. The girl noticed him and, with a friendly smile, asked, "Do you want to drive the car?" The boy looked up at her and said, "I'm not going to drive it, but if you don't mind, can I honk the horn?" A sign on a restaurant window says, "If you order it and we don't have it, you instantly win $1 million. A man walking by notices the sign and walks in the restaurant and sits down at the table with a smirk on his face. The waiter asks what he will be having and the man says, "I will have white rhinoceros stew, please." The waiter comes out with a boiling hot bowl of exactly what the man ordered. The man is taken by surprise, but he eats the stew and pays for his very expensive meal. He leaves angrily. The next day he comes back and sits at the table with a smirk on his face again. He tells the waiter, "Today I will have bullet ants stuffed with dolphin meat." The waiter leaves and quickly comes back after a few minutes with exactly what the man ordered. The man, surprised, again eats his meal angrily, pays and leaves. The next day he comes back and sits at the table and tells the waiter, "Today I will have a lactating mermaid breast sandwich." A few minutes go by, and the waiter comes out holding 2 massive duffel bags with the $1 million. The man, overcome with excitement, says, "I knew it! You don't have mermaid breast." The waiter tells him politely, "We actually have it, sir. It's just that we ran out of bread." A chicken farmer went to a local bar, sat next to a woman and ordered a glass of champagne. The woman perked up and said, "How about that? I just ordered a glass of champagne too." "What a coincidence," the farmer said. "This is a special day for me. I am celebrating." "This is a special day for me too. I am also celebrating," said the woman. "What a coincidence," said the farmer. As they clinked glasses, he added, "What are you celebrating?" "My husband and I have been trying to have a child, and today my gynecologist told me that I'm pregnant. What a coincidence. I'm a chicken farmer, and for years all of my hens were infertile. But today they are all laying fertilized eggs." "That's great," said the woman. "How did your chickens become fertile?" "I used a different rooster," he replied. The woman smiled, clinked his glass, and said, "What a coincidence." An old man placed an order for 1 hamburger, French fries, and a drink. He unwrapped the plain hamburger and carefully cut it in half, placing 1 half in front of his wife. He then carefully counted out the French fries, dividing them into 2 piles and neatly placed 1 pile in front of his wife. He took a sip of the drink, his wife took a sip, and then set the cup down between them. As he began to eat his few bites of hamburger, the people around them were looking over and whispering. Obviously, they were thinking, "That poor old couple. All they can afford is 1 meal for the 2 of them." As the man began to eat his fries, a young man came to the table and politely offered to buy another meal for the old couple. The old man said they were just fine. They were used to sharing everything. People closer to the table noticed the little old lady hadn't eaten a bite. She sat there watching her husband eat and occasionally taking turns sipping the drink. Again, the young man came over and begged them to let him buy another meal for them. This time, the old woman said, "No, thank you. We are used to sharing everything." Finally, as the old man finished and was wiping his face neatly with the napkin, the young man again came over to the little old lady who had yet to eat a single bite of food and asked, "What is it you are waiting for?" She answered, "The teeth." A couple go for a meal at a Chinese restaurant and order the chicken surprise. The waiter brings the meal, served in a lidded cast-iron pot. Just as the wife is about to serve herself, the lid of the pot rises slightly and she briefly sees 2 beady little eyes looking around before the lid slams back down. "Good grief, did you see that?" she asks her husband. He hadn't, so she asks him to look in the pot. He reaches for it, and again the lid rises, and he sees two little eyes looking around before it slams down. Rather perturbed, he calls the waiter over, explains what is happening, and demands an explanation. "Please, sir," says the waiter. "What you order?" The husband replies, chicken surprise. "Ah, so sorry," says the waiter. "I bring you Peking duck." A man enters a bar and the bartender comes over and asks, "Can I help you, sir?" The man answers, "What does a cup of coffee cost in this place?" The bartender says, "That would be £2.60. "All right, I'll have one," says the client, and he takes 26 dimes out of his wallet and he throws them on the ground. The bartender doesn't want to make a scene, so he just picks up the money and he brings the man his coffee. A week later, the same man enters the bar. He orders a coffee again, but this time he pays with a $5 bill. The bartender smelled an opportunity for revenge, and when he brings the coffee, he throws 48 nickels on the ground as change. The client threw 2 extra dimes on the floor and orders a second coffee. An Irishman walks into a bar and orders 3 pints all at once. He does this for several days, drinking one, and then the next one, and then the last one. After a week or two, the bartender says, "You know, I can bring you your drinks one at a time so they stay fresh and cold." "No, no," the Irishman says to the bartender. "I have 2 brothers. One is on the oil rigs, the other is on the high seas. We made a deal that whenever we have a drink, we'll all have 3 pints at once like this, so it's like we're still drinking together." "That's actually really touching, sir." The bartender smiles and brings him his 3 drinks. For 5 months, he comes in every day and orders 3 pints, until one day he walked in and ordered 2. The bartender was chilled and got him his 2 beers. For the next couple of days, people would send flowers and cards as condolences. Finally, he comes in and orders 2 drinks, and he says to the bartender, "I don't get it, man. People keep sending me cards and flowers. Did they invent a new holiday?" "No, no," the bartender replied. "You've only been ordering 2 beers." And the Irishman sips one of his beers, confused. "Well, who did we lose, good sir?" the bartender asked. "The lovely fellow on the rigs or the chap on the high seas?" "Neither," the Irishman replied. "I told me wife I'd stop drinking." A farmer stopped by a hardware store and bought a bucket and a gallon of paint. Then he stopped by the feed store and picked up a couple of chickens and a goose. However, struggling outside the store, he wondered how to carry all his purchases home. While he was scratching his head, he was approached by a lady who told him she was lost. She asked, "Can you tell me how to get to this address, please?" The farmer said, "Well, as a matter of fact, my farm is very close to that house. I would walk you there, but I can't carry this lot." The lady suggested, "Why don't you put the can of paint in the bucket, carry the bucket in one hand, put a chicken under each arm, and carry the goose in your other hand?" "Thank you very much," he said, and proceeded to walk the lady home. On the way, he said, "Let's take my shortcut and go down this alley. We'll be there in no time." The lady looked him over cautiously and said, "I am a lonely widow without a husband to protect me. How do I know that when we get in the alley you won't hold me up against the wall, pull up my skirt and have your way with me?" "Psst." The farmer said, "Holy smokes, lady, I'm carrying a bucket, a gallon of paint, 2 chickens and a goose. How in the world could I possibly hold you up against the wall and do that?" The lady replied, "Set the goose down, cover him with the bucket, put the paint on top of the bucket, and I'll hold the chickens." A guy walks into a bar, sits down at the bar, and orders a drink. A couple of minutes later, he hears a disembodied voice say, "Nice shirt." He looks around, but there's no one nearby that could have said it. Confused, he shrugs it off. A few moments later, he hears the same voice, "I like your tie, too." He quickly looks around. No one is even near him. He calls the bartender over and nervously explains what just happened. The bartender smiles and points to a bowl of nuts sitting on the bar in front of the man. "It's the nuts. They're complimentary." A man was sitting on the edge of the bed, observing his wife, looking at herself in the mirror. Since her birthday was not far off, he asked what she'd like to have for her birthday. "I'd like to be 6 again," she replied, still looking in the mirror. On the morning of her birthday, he arose early, made her a nice big bowl of Lucky Charms, and then took her to Six Flags theme park. What a day! He put her on every ride in the park, the Death Slide, Wall of Fear, Screaming Monster roller coaster. Everything there was. 5 hours later, they staggered out of the theme park. Her head was reeling and her stomach felt upside down. He then took her to a McDonald's where he ordered her a Happy Meal with extra fries and a chocolate shake. Then it was off to a movie, popcorn, a soda pop and her favourite candy, M&Ms. What a fabulous adventure! Finally, she wobbled home with her husband and collapsed into bed exhausted. He leaned over his wife with a big smile and lovingly asked, "Well, dear, what was it like being 6 again?" Her eyes slowly opened and her expression changed. "I'm in my dress size, you dumbass." A blonde was speeding when a local police officer pulled her over and walked up to the car. The officer also happened to be a blonde, and she asked for the blonde's driver's license. The driver searched frantically in her purse for a while and finally said to the blonde policewoman, "What does a driver's license look like?" Irritated, the blonde cop said, "You dummy, it's got your picture on it." The blonde driver frantically searched her purse again and found a small rectangular mirror down at the bottom. She held it up to her face and said, "Aha, this must be my driver's license," and handed it to the blonde policewoman. The blonde cop looked in the mirror, handed it back to the driver and said, "You're free to go, and if I had known you were a police officer too, we could have avoided all of this." One day, a man brought his ailing wife to the doctor. After a thorough examination, the doctor asked the man to step into his office for a private discussion. With a serious expression and a note of concern in his voice, the doctor said, "I have some difficult news. Your wife is only expected to live for 2 more days. I'm very sorry." The man was initially taken aback, his face showing a mix of shock and confusion. However, instead of reacting with despair, a slight smile began to form on his lips. He looked at the doctor and asked, "Doctor, why are you apologizing for that?" The doctor, surprised by the man's reaction, was puzzled and a bit frustrated. "You don't seem to understand," he said. "I said your wife only has 2 days left." The man, still smiling, replied, "Doctor, we'll manage those 2 days just fine." A husband calls the sheriff's office to report his wife missing. Husband, "My wife is missing. She went shopping yesterday and has not come home." Sheriff, height? Husband, "I'm not sure. A little over 5 feet tall." Sheriff, weight? Husband, "Don't know. Not slim, not really fat." Sheriff, "Colour of eyes?" Husband, "Sort of brown, I think. Never really noticed." Sheriff, "Colour of hair?" Husband, "Changes a couple times a year. Maybe dark brown now, I can't remember." Sheriff, "What was she wearing?" Husband, "Could have been pants or maybe a skirt or shorts. I don't know exactly." Sheriff, "What kind of car did she go in?" Husband, "She went in my truck." Sheriff, "What kind of truck was it?" Husband, "A 2016 pearl white Ram Limited 4x4 with 6.4 Hemi V8 engine, ordered with the Ram box bar and fridge option. LED lighting, backup and front camera, moose, hide leather heated and cooled seats, climate-controlled air conditioning. It has a custom matching white cover for the bed. Trailering package with gold hitch, sunroof, DVD with full GPS navigation, satellite radio, Cobra 75, DWX, ST40 channel CB radio, 6 cup holders, 3 USB port, and 4 power outlets. I added special alloy wheels and off-road Toyo tyres. It has custom retracting running boards and underglow wheel well lighting." At this point, the husband started choking up. Sheriff, "Take it easy, sir. We'll find your truck." An Englishman and a Scotsman go to a pastry shop. The Englishman whisks 3 cookies into his pocket with lightning speed. The baker doesn't notice. The Englishman says to the Scotsman, "You see how clever we are? You'll never beat that." The Scotsman says to the Englishman, "Watch this. A Scotsman is always cleverer than an Englishman." He says to the baker, "Give me a cookie. I can show you a magic trick." The baker gives him the cookie, which the Scotsman promptly eats. Then he says to the baker, "Give me another cookie for my magic trick." The baker is getting suspicious, but he gives it to him. He eats this one too, then he says again, "Give me one more cookie." The baker is getting angry now, but gives him one anyway. The Scotsman eats this one too. Now the baker is really mad and he yells, "And where is your magic trick?" The Scotsman says, "Look in the Englishman's pocket." A professor, a CEO, and a janitor are in a forest when they discover a magic fairy. The fairy says, "I will give you what you most desire if you do someone else's job for a day." The professor says, "I'll be an elementary school teacher. What can be so hard about teaching a bunch of 6-year-olds how to read?" So he is teleported into a classroom. After a few minutes, all the kids' screaming gets to his nerves, so he throws all his supplies and gives up. The CEO says, "I'll be a waiter. All you do is carry food back and forth. This'll be a breeze." So he's teleported to a restaurant. After about an hour, all the annoying customers drive him insane, so he smashes his plates on the ground and gives up. The janitor says, "I'll be an artist." So he is transported to an art facility. He glues all the classroom supplies and shattered plates to a canvas, then sells it for $1 billion. The fairy asks the janitor how he was so clever. The janitor says, "I got a master's degree in art." A young Italian couple got married, but the man had to go to war before they could consummate their marriage. He returned a year later, battle-wounded missing. Part of his foot and burns on his back. The young lady was living with her mother. When he walks in the door, he gives her a big hug and goes upstairs to take a shower. The mum told the daughter, "Go upstairs and take care of your wifely duties." The young Italian girl sheepishly walks up the stairs. She comes running back, saying, "Mama, I can't do it. I'm too nervous. The mum said, "I'm cooking. You need to go up there and fulfill your duties." The daughter comes bolting down the stairs 5 minutes later and exclaims, Mama, he has a foot and a half." The mum calmly put her towel down and said, "You finish cooking, I'll take care of your wifely duties." A circus performer is driving home after a long day of training when he is pulled over by a police officer for a broken light. The officer looks in the car and sees a collection of knives in the back seat. "Sir," he says, "why do you have all those knives?" "They're for my juggling act," the circus performer replies. "I don't believe you," says the cop. "Prove it." So the performer gets out of his car and begins juggling the knives flawlessly. Just at that moment, a car with 2 guys in it drives by. "Wow," says one to the other, "I'm glad I quit drinking. These new sobriety tests are hard." A husband and wife go to see a marriage counsellor. At the start of the session, the counsellor asks them what the problem is. The wife starts listing every issue the couple had ever had in the 15 years they have been married. She goes on and on. When she's finally done, the counsellor gets up, embraces the woman, and kisses her passionately. The woman is stunned. The counsellor then turns to the husband and says, "That's what your wife needs at least 3 times a week. Can you do that?" The husband thinks for a moment before he replies. "Well," he says, "I can bring her here on Mondays and Wednesdays, but on Fridays, I golf." A married couple is lying in bed one night. The wife is curled up, ready to go to sleep, and the husband turns his bed lamp on to read a book. As he's reading, he periodically reaches over to his wife and fondles her special bits. He does this a few times, but only for a very short interval before returning to read his book. The wife gradually becomes more and more aroused and, assuming that her husband is seeking some encouragement before going further, she gets up and starts stripping in front of him. The husband is confused and asks, "Why are you taking off your clothes?" His wife replies, "You were rubbing me downtown. I thought it was foreplay." The husband says, "No, not at all." His wife asks angrily, "Well, what the hell were you doing then?" I was just wetting my fingers so I could turn the pages in my book. Wife comes home one day wearing a brand new diamond tennis bracelet. Husband asked where she got it from. She tells him she won a raffle at work, then asks him to get a hot bath ready for her. Not thinking too much about, the husband gets her bath ready. A week later, the wife comes home with a mink coat on. Again, the husband asked where she got it from. She again says she won it in a raffle at work. Again asked the husband to get a hot bath ready for her. The husband again gets the bath ready. A week later, the wife come home in a brand new car and yet again claims she won it in a raffle at work. Without hesitation, the husband goes and gets his wife a hot bath ready. When she entered the bathroom, she sees the tub only has an inch or two of water in it. The wife asked the husband why it was almost empty, and the husband says that he doesn't want her to get her raffle ticket wet. A little 10-year-old girl was walking home, alone, from school one day when a big man on a black motorcycle pulls up beside her. After following along for a while, turns to her and asks, "Hey there, little girl, do you want to go for a ride?" "No," says the little girl as she keeps on walking. The motorcyclist again pulls up beside her and asks, "Hey, little girl, I will give you $10 if you hop on the back." "No," says the little girl again as she hurries down the street. The motorcyclist pulls up beside the little girl again and says, "Yeah. Okay, kid, my last offer. I'll give you $20 and a big bag of candy if you will just hop on the back of my bike and we will go for a ride." Finally, the little girl stops and turns towards him and screams out, "Look, Dad, you're the one who bought the Honda instead of the Harley. You ride it." A guy is spending his first night in prison. He hears someone in another cell shout out 37, and the whole cell block bursts out laughing. Another guy shouts out 74. Same thing. 46. And everyone loses their minds. He asks his cellmate, "What's going on?" Why are the numbers so funny?" "Well, we've all been here so long, we remember all the jokes by heart. To save time, we just give them numbers and tell those instead." "Oh, I think I understand. Let me try. 63. There's dead silence. The new guy says, "What's wrong? Is that one not funny?" "Nah, it's a good one. Some people just don't know how to tell a joke." A man came home from work one day to find his wife on the front porch with her bags packed. "Just where the heck do you think you're going?" said the man. "I'm going to Las Vegas," said the wife. "I just found out I can get $400 a night for what I give you for free." The man said, "Wait a minute," and then ran inside the house only to come back a few minutes later with his suitcases in hand. "Where the heck are you going?" said the wife. The man said, "I want to see how you're going to live on $800 a year." A couple of years ago, one night, I was about to propose to my girlfriend when my roommate Joseph barged into the room out of nowhere, tripped and fell over, breaking a glass table with his face. Totally ruined the mood. Now I didn't know Joseph that well, don't even remember where he was from. But let's just say I put my plans on hold to help him through his injuries. Joseph had gotten big glass shard in his eye, making him completely blind in that eye. He was walking around with one of those cotton pads on his eye for a couple of months. Then suddenly he disappeared, along with my girlfriend. Apparently they'd bonded during the time after his injuries and eloped together. Left me behind without as much as a note. I tried to track them down but never could. In conclusion, if it hadn't been for Cotton Eye Joe, I'd have been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? A bill collector knocked on the door of a country debtor and asked the woman who answered the door, "Is Fred home?" "Sorry, Fred's gone for cotton." The next day the bill collector tried again. "And is Fred here today?" "No, sir, I'm afraid he has gone for cotton." When he returned the third day, he humphed. "I suppose Fred is gone for cotton again?" "No, Fred died yesterday." Suspicious that he was being avoided, the collector decided to wait a week and check the cemetery himself. But sure enough, there was poor Fred's tombstone, with the inscription, "Gone, but not for cotton." A man's wife doesn't come home one night. The next morning, the wife tells her husband that she had slept over at a friend's house. The husband then contacted all of his wife's friends asking about it. None of them said that she was staying the night. A few nights later, the husband doesn't come home one night. Just like his wife, the next morning, he tells her that he had slept over at a friend's place. His wife then contacted all of the husband's friends to ask about, and apparently the husband was at 8 houses, 2 of which said he was still there. 3 men had a very late night drinking Guinness. They left in the early morning hours and each went to their home. The next day, they all met for an early pint and compared notes about who was drunker the night before. The first guy claims that he was the drunkest, saying, "I drove straight home and walked into the house. As soon as I got through the door, I blew chunks." The second guy said, "You think that was drunk? Hell, I got into my car and wrapped it around the first tree I saw, and I don't even have insurance." The third guy proclaimed, "Damn, I was the drunkest by far. When I got home, I got into a big fight with my wife, knocked a candle over and burned the whole house down." The room was silent for a moment. Then the first guy spoke out again. "Listen, guys, I don't think you understand. Chunks is my dog." As little Johnny had become increasingly interested in the girls over the summer, his mom told his dad he should talk to his son about the flowers and bees and such. Dad obligingly took Johnny fishing, and as they sat quietly by the water, he asked, "So, Johnny, you remember last time we went fishing, right?" "I sure do, Dad." "And you remember those girls we met, right?" "Of course." "Well, what we did to them, the bees do to the flowers as well." There once was a bee. He was a very charming and funny bee. But when he saw this beautiful girl, Bee, he changed. He got shy whenever she was around. He couldn't look her in the eye, or even buzz a few words to her before feeling sick. Eventually, he realized that it wasn't meant to be, so he gave up on her. He returned to his former self, and sure enough, he caught the eye of his girl Bee. She was the one who approached him this time around. Fast forward a while, their relationship is still going strong. The bee turns to his beloved. "What drew you to me? I had always wanted you to notice me before, but nothing ever worked." She turns to him. "You were always the center of the hive. You were charming, helpful towards other people, the funniest one around. And not bad to look at either. It was just everything about who you were as a bee. So, if you want a girl to like you, just show her your bee-ness." A 60-year-old billionaire marries a hot 25-year-old girl. After honeymoon, they throw a party celebrating their marriage. After a few drinks, billionaire's friends want to know the secret of how he landed 25-yo hottie. "It's simple," billionaire boasts. "I faked my age." Yes, but even for a 45 years old guy, she is sensational. "What age did you tell you are?" a friend asks. With a smile on his lips, billionaire responds, 85 years old. A man comes home and his wife tells him to fix the broken table leg. The man replies, "My dear, am I a carpenter?" After 3 days, the man comes home and his wife tells him to fix the broken pipe in the bathroom. But the man replies, "My dear, am I a plumber?" So after 1 week, the man comes home and his wife tells him to fix the microwave oven. But again, the man replies, "My dear, am I an electrician?" Another week passes, and as the man comes home, the table leg isn't broken anymore, the pipe is fixed, and the microwave works properly. He asks her wife who fixed all those things, and she says, "My friend's son helped me. He's been very nice because he didn't want to get paid. He told me that to thank him, I could either make him a cake or make love with him." Then the husband asks, slightly agitated, "Well, you made him a cake, right?" The wife replies, "My dear, am I a pastry chef?" A man walks into a bar and orders a beer. After having the beer, he asks the bartender for the bill. $3, says the bartender. The man, just for fun, goes on and places a $1 coin on the 3 ends of the table. The bartender gives him a bad look, but has no other option but to pick them up. This happened for 3 to 4 days, and every day the bartender felt humiliated. The next day, he orders a beer, but couldn't find 3 $1 coins. to pay the bill. So he hands the bartender a $5 note. Now the bartender gets all excited and thinks that it is his day to avenge the hard time he had because of this man. He then places the two $1 coins at the opposite ends of the table. Now, with a shrewd smile and with all the excitement, he goes to the man and says, "Go on, collect your change." The man then takes out a $1 coin from his pocket and puts it in front of the bartender and says, "One more beer, please." A wife is frying eggs for her husband in the morning. Suddenly the husband appears behind the wife's back and says, "Careful, careful, put more fat in the pan. You're frying too many at a time, too many. Flip them, flip them. Come on, put more fat in there. Oh, dear Lord. How are you going to make space for the fat now? Look, they're sticking to the pan. Careful, careful now. You never listen to me when I cook. Never. Flip them over already. Hurry, are you crazy? Take it easy, easy. No, don't forget the salt. Put salt on them, salt." The wife stares at her husband. "What's wrong with you? You think I can't fry a few eggs?" The husband answers calmly, "I just wanted to show you what it feels like when I'm driving." A guy goes into a store and tells the clerk, "I'd like some Polish sausage." The clerk looks at him and says, "Are you Polish?" The guy, clearly offended, says, "Well, yes, I am. But let me ask you something. If I had asked for Italian sausage, would you ask me if I was Italian? Or if I had asked for German bratwurst, would you ask me if I was German? Or if I asked for a kosher hot dog, would you ask me if I was Jewish? Or if I had asked for a taco, would you ask if I was Mexican? Would you? Huh? Would you?" The clerk says, "Well, no." With deep self-righteous indignation, the guy says, "Well, all right then. Why did you ask me if I'm Polish just because I asked for Polish sausage?" The clerk replies, "Because this is Home Depot." Welcome, my cheerful friends. If today's joke made you smile, click that subscribe button. It's a small gesture that guarantees more jokes, just like this one. Don't miss last one that is special joke for you.